and I will always find a way to survive. I'm not a failure, but I know what it's like. I can take it or leave it or die. Stay. You don't always know where you stand till you know that you won't run away. There's something inside me.
What if Lex Luger actually won the title at SummerSlam and WWE decided to stay with him as the main guy instead of Bret the Hitman Hart? Well, let's begin. SummerSlam 93. Instead of the weak countout finish, Lex beats Yokozuna clean in the middle of the ring with the loaded forearm. Red, white, and blue balloons fall. The crowd erupts, and Vince goes all in on the whole Luger Mania is running wild. And WWE has his new All-American Hulk Hogan. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels quietly slide back a step as Vince rides the Lex Express into glory. And we fast forward to fall 93 as Lex the Flyburning as champion. Lex works house shows against Yokozuna, Ludwig Borga, and other foreign menaces heels. He becomes the face of WWE's outreach, school appearances, say no to drugs campaigns, all that. Ratings stay steady, but hardcore fans already start murmuring that Bret should have been the guy. Still, Vince ignores him because you know how Vince McMahon is. Meanwhile, Bret stays occupied in a long-running feud with Jerry Lawler and eventually shifts toward IC title programs, keeping him busy but away from the main belt. Now we fast forward to the Royal Rumble. You know, I this is gonna be very interesting because for what I'm thinking, um, I don't think the whole double finish with Bret would happen, because by that point, Lex is the champion, is a champion instead. So I could see him beating a Yokozuna again, because his position as the conquering hero who toppled WWE's biggest monster twice, you know, and Bret Hart might have won the Rumble right there, and then WrestleMania would have been set. It would have been Lex Luger versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. So speaking of WrestleMania 10, let's fast forward to that. This will be the make or break moment. In our timeline, Vince finally gives Bret the belt, but in this alternate reality, Lex goes in as champ. Bret wins the Rumble instead of Lex, and we get a WrestleMania X main event of Lex versus Bret. If Vince would have stick with Lex, Luger will retain, cementing himself as the face of the company. Bret's credibility drops and fans get restless. Now if Vince would switch to Bret right there, Lex would have been a short-term champion, a transitional experiment that fizzled. But here's the thing: we're doing this in an alternate timeline where Lex is a guy. So let's just say that let's just say Vince has Lex beat Bret clean. Bret is shunted down the card. Shawn Michaels slowly climbs the ladder, but with Lex urgency because Lex is eating up the spotlight. Now, when it comes to 94, 95, it would have been the Luger era. Lex reign becomes a patriotic replay of Hogan's 80s formula. He beats Yokozuna, Crush, Batman Bigelow, Diesel, and Tataka. But here's the rub. WWE's fan base is changing. They're not buying into the cartoon superhero vibe anymore. Bret and Shawn are connecting with fans in ways Lex isn't. By 95, WWE feels stale, with Lex looking like yesterday's news despite holding the belt. Meanwhile, WCW has signed Hulk Hogan and is wrapping up for Nitro. Their product feels hotter and Lex is painted as Hogan Light compared to the real deal in WCW, and WWE will be losing momentum. And in 96, they will literally collapse big time. By the time of the new generation era peaks, WWE is hurting financially. In our real timeline, Bret and Shawn carried the in-ring credibility until Austin and Rock rose. In this alternate world, Lex is still the champion, or I guess in the title picture, but will be rejecting him. WCW dominates with Hogan's NWO run, while WWE looks corny with its forced hero. When Steve Austin cuts his Austin 316 promo at King of the Ring 96, the crowd is already this desperate for something new. Lex, by comparison, feels ancient. Austin gets white hot faster. Vince has no choice but to pivot away from Luger, finally elevating Bret or Shawn, but much later than he did originally. So, in terms of the long term fallout, for Leg's legacy, he instead of being remembered as a flop, he's remembered as the guy who briefly carried WWE on his back. But history still judges him as a manufactured hero who didn't connect. His reign is seen as a missed opportunity for Bret and Shawn. Now, for Bret Hart, he would never become the clear face of the company in the mid '90s. His eventual heel turn '97 might not even happen, or it might still happen, but it'll be with less impact. Now, for Shawn Michaels, he will still rise, but later and slower. Without Bret carrying the work rate banner, HBK doesn't get the same spotlight until the mid '90s. Now, lastly, when it comes to WWE versus WCW, WCW would win even harder early on because Hogan is in WCW being cool with the NWO, while WWE is stuck with Diet Hogan in Lex. The Monday Night Wars would tilt more in WCW's favor. So pretty much the final conclusion is that if Lex had won SummerSlam '93 and Vince doubled down, WWE probably gets stuck in neutral until someone else breaks out. Most likely Austin, but later. The Lex Express wouldn't have saved WWE. It might have speed up the WCW's dominance. Instead of being remembered as the guy who flopped, Lex will be remembered as the wrong guy at the wrong time type of dude. Now, if we really want to go wild, we could imagine Lex sticking as champ until Austin throws him in '97 instead of Shawn Michaels beating Bret. That would have changed Austin's rise into a straight up Hulk Slayer moment rather than an anti hero against a corrupted boss.
My life, and I will always find a way to survive. I'm not a failure, but I know what it's like.